The arrival of the invaders. It began with silence, an eerie stillness that settled over Earth like a fog. The skies, once vibrant with clouds and sunlight, grew thick with unfamiliar ships, their dark, jagged forms blotting out the sun. Cities across the globe fell into chaos as the first of the Yothkari invasion force landed. Their arrival was swift, precise, and overwhelming. At first, humanity didn't know what to make of it. Some thought it was a joke, a prank, something too outrageous to be real. Others watched in disbelief as the massive ships hovered in Earth's atmosphere, releasing a hum that reverberated through every living thing on the planet. But the moment the first wave of alien forces touched down, the reality set in. In New York, the first explosions tore through the skyline. Towering buildings crumbled to dust, and panic spread like wildfire. People ran, screamed, and hid wherever they could, as alien soldiers, tall, reptilian creatures with black armor and weapons that glowed with deadly intensity, emerged from the ships. Within seconds, they began sweeping through the streets, leveling anything that stood in their path. The power of their technology was beyond anything Earth's military had ever faced. It was as if humanity was a mere inconvenience to be swept aside. Sergeant Kate Walker crouched low in her post near a military base in Nevada. The air buzzed with static. Her radio crackled with distant voices, shouts of confusion, panic, and despair. Her eyes flicked to the horizon. In the distance, she saw it. More ships. Bigger ones. Some of them broke through Earth's atmosphere with a horrifying speed, making no attempt to hide their presence. A few of the larger ships deployed smaller craft, which darted toward the surface, leaving a trail of fire in their wake. The base was on high alert. The commander was barking orders into the radio, but there was no mistaking the tension in his voice. They were too late. It had already started. There was no holding the line. The aliens were too fast, too advanced. "What the hell are they?" one of the soldiers beside her asked, his voice trembling. "They're not from around here," Kate muttered, her mind racing. "And they are not here for a picnic." At that moment, a deafening blast rocked the base. The ground trembled beneath her boots as the enemy ship above released a devastating shockwave that sent soldiers scrambling for cover. Through the haze of dust and debris, Kate saw the first alien forces emerging. Tall, imposing figures with smooth, reptilian skin. They were walking with purpose, as if the planet were already theirs. And the worst part, humanity didn't have the weapons to fight back. Earth's combined military forces were no match for the advanced technology that now ravaged the landscape. Every weapon fired by the humans seemed to have no effect. Their tanks, fighter jets, and helicopters were like ants in the path of a giant. Humanity's resistance was born of fear, confusion, and desperation. But what the Yothkari didn't realize was that fear, when harnessed, could become an untamed force. A force that, soon, would be their undoing. Kate gritted her teeth. They weren't going to give up. Not yet. "Gather the men," she ordered, her voice cold with determination. "We're not done." The war had begun. Humanity strikes back. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the ruins of the military base. Sergeant Kate Walker stood on the edge of a broken wall, her eyes scanning the horizon. The distant rumble of alien forces moving in seemed to echo the pounding of her own heart. The Yothkari were relentless, but she had no intention of letting them take this planet without a fight. The days since the invasion began had been chaos. Humanity was reeling, but in the midst of destruction, there was a spark, something deeper than fear. People were starting to organize, to fight back in ways the invaders never expected. It wasn't enough yet, but it was a start. Kate turned to the small group of soldiers gathered around her. They were young, scared, but determined. They had witnessed firsthand the overwhelming power of the alien assault, but their fear had been tempered by a shared resolve. "All right," Kate began, her voice sharp and steady. "The Yothkari have their weapons. We have our will to survive. We make do with what we have." Her plan wasn't complicated. Find any alien technology they could use and make their own weapons. The Yothkari's technology was far superior, but Kate had a theory. No matter how advanced the tech, it could be hacked, or at least disrupted. Humanity wasn't helpless. It was resourceful. The soldiers set to work, some scavenging pieces from destroyed alien drones, while others started working with makeshift materials, EMP bombs, scrap metal, anything that could be turned into a weapon. The base's engineers began trying to reverse engineer alien tech, their frustration palpable, but Kate refused to let them give up. They had no choice but to try. Meanwhile, across the world, other small resistance cells were doing the same. In New York, civilians had managed to commandeer a few alien weapons, learning how to disable the targeting systems and use them against their invaders. In Paris, a group of hackers had infiltrated alien communications, causing confusion among the Yothkari forces. But the real breakthrough came when a scientist, Dr. Naomi Hargrave, had managed to reverse engineer a Yothkari data chip she'd stolen from a downed drone. She realized the aliens had overlooked a flaw in their communications network, a vulnerability that, if exploited, could throw their forces into disarray. Kate's radio crackled to life as Naomi's voice came through. "Sergeant, we've got it. We can disable their weapons systems for a short period. It'll give us an edge." Kate's lips curled into a grim smile. "Good. Now we fight back." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Using Naomi's breakthrough, they set a plan into motion. They would strike at a nearby Yothkari command post, a small installation they had been watching for days. It wasn't much, but it was the first real opportunity to hit the invaders where it hurt. When they moved in under the cover of night, the Yothkari didn't see them coming. The makeshift EMPs disabled the alien drones, and the soldiers used their newly adapted weapons to take out the few guards at the post. The fight was brutal, but humanity was relentless. They hit hard, with everything they had, pushing through the confusion the alien tech failures caused. In the end, the resistance didn't just survive, they made a statement. The Yothkari weren't invincible. Humanity wasn't a species to be brushed aside. The humans hadn't won the war, but for the first time, they had forced the invaders to retreat. Kate stood amidst the wreckage, her chest heaving with exhaustion, but there was a spark in her eyes. They had struck back, and this was only the beginning. The Yothkari underestimate humanity's fury. The Yothkari weren't used to being challenged. For centuries, they had swept through countless worlds, leaving nothing but devastation in their wake. Earth, to them, was supposed to be another easy conquest. But the invaders had underestimated humanity's resilience, and now, their empire was starting to crack. Kate Walker paced in front of a map strewn with tactical data. The battle they'd won at the command post had given humanity a much-needed boost. They had learned how to exploit the Yothkari's weaknesses, communications failures, unshielded power cores, and malfunctioning weapon systems. But those victories were just the beginning. "We need to hit harder," she said, her voice cold with resolve. "They think we're disorganized. We show them otherwise." The plan was bold, even reckless, a multi-pronged attack designed to strike at the heart of the Yothkari's command structure. The alien forces had been stretched thin by their failures, and humanity's guerrilla tactics were becoming more effective by the day. The invaders were starting to fall into disarray, and Kate wasn't going to let up. But the Yothkari weren't blind. They had begun to adapt, too. Kate's team had learned how to disable their weapons temporarily, but the aliens had quickly upgraded their systems, making their defenses even stronger. Every day, the invaders were evolving, countering humanity's tactics faster than expected. In a Yothkari command center, far from the front lines, the alien leaders convened. Their commander, Zakner, watched the data streams from Earth, his face a mask of frustration. Despite their overwhelming firepower, the humans were proving more difficult than anticipated. They fought like cornered animals, using every resource at their disposal, sabotaging drones, hacking into systems, and attacking in ways that the Yothkari had never seen before. "This is unacceptable," Zakner growled, slamming a fist onto the control panel in front of him. "We will crush them, but we must act decisively. No more mercy." His second-in-command, a lean alien named Shira, spoke up. "Sir, their resistance is spreading. They are learning our weaknesses faster than we anticipated. They're even using our own tech against us. Zakner's eyes narrowed. Then we'll do what we should have done from the start. We'll make Earth an example. We will wipe out their last strongholds in one swift strike. On the ground, Kate and her team were preparing for the next wave of attacks. With Naomi's assistance, they'd begun to reverse-engineer alien weapons, creating powerful EMP devices that could temporarily disable entire Yothkari ships. But they needed more time to perfect them, and the clock was ticking. As the night wore on, the first signs of a larger Yothkari response began to surface. Massive ships loomed overhead, darkening the sky. Kate could feel the tension in her gut as she watched the clouds swirl with the alien vessels. They were coming in full force now. Her radio crackled, Naomi's voice cutting through the static. They're sending everything they've got. We've got maybe 12 hours before they unleash their full retaliation. We don't have 12 hours, Kate snapped. Get the EMPs ready. We strike at dawn. Dawn came, and with it, a terrifying storm of alien firepower. Yothkari ships descended like vultures, targeting the human resistance in a final bid to stamp out their defiance. But humanity had learned it. As the first ships touched down, humanity struck back. Every available soldier, civilian, and makeshift fighter put their plan into action. The EMPs hit their targets, and Yothkari tech began to sputter and fail. The aliens, caught off guard, scrambled to regroup. Humanity's fury was unleashed in a storm of violence and ingenuity. Kate's voice rang through the chaos. This is our planet. We fight for it. As the battle raged on, humanity was no longer the underdog. The Yothkari had made the mistake of thinking they could easily break Earth. Now they were learning that the harder they pushed, the more humanity fought back. And the Yothkari were starting to realize that victory here would not come easily. The final stand and victory. The sky burned red as the Yothkari ships descended, blotting out the sun. Earth had never known a battle like this. Humanity was cornered, battered, but never broken. For every alien ship that fell, another appeared, but the resistance didn't falter. Kate Walker stood in the midst of the wreckage of a once bustling city, her heart hammering in her chest. The last confrontation was drawing near, and this time, they couldn't afford to lose. "We're all that's left," Kate muttered to her team. "But we've got something they'll never understand. We fight for this world." The final attack would take everything they had. Naomi Hargrave had managed to hack into the Yothkari's central command systems, giving humanity a shot at the heart of their operation. It wasn't perfect. There would be no second chances. If they failed, Earth would burn. The alien command ship, the Crest of Dominion, hovered above the ground like a dark omen, its engines thrumming with barely contained power. The Yothkari had made their mistake. They had underestimated the ferocity of Earth's resistance. And now, they were going to pay for it. Kate's eyes scanned the horizon, where scattered pockets of humanity's fighters were preparing for their final strike. Resistance cells across the globe had rallied. From the jungles of South America to the icy plains of Siberia, human defiance had spread. The Yothkari were no longer fighting a few scattered soldiers. They were facing a unified world. Kate's team was ready. The EMP devices, refined and perfected, were positioned around key Yothkari bases. Naomi had cracked the codes, and the Yothkari's communication systems were now open to manipulation. Humanity had turned their own technology against them. A tense silence fell over the battlefield as the alien ship moved lower, preparing to release its final assault. This was it. There would be no retreat, no more waiting. The fate of Earth would be decided in a few short hours. Kate's team was in position. She looked over her shoulder at Naomi, who gave her a determined nod. "We've got one shot at this," Kate said, turning to the others. "We make it count." The attack came without warning. A wave of alien ships and soldiers surged forward, their weapons crackling with destructive energy. But as soon as they descended into range, Kate's team initiated the EMP strikes. The first blast tore through the air, sending ripples through the alien fleet. The Yothkari's ships began to falter, their engines sputtering, weapons systems flickering out. The humans moved in, using the chaos as cover. Kate and her squad charged forward, taking down Yothkari soldiers with rapid, precise strikes. The aliens were still strong, still formidable, but they were no longer the invincible force they had once been. Every step forward was hard-won, every inch of ground paid for in blood, but humanity pressed on. In the heart of the battle, the crest of Dominion hovered just above the wreckage. Kate led the final charge toward the command ship. The Yothkari had thrown everything they had at them, but they had failed to anticipate one thing: the unbreakable spirit of the human race. Naomi's voice came through Kate's comms. "It's time. We've got the codes. Take them down." Kate gave a sharp nod and sprinted toward the alien vessel, her soldiers right behind her. They planted explosives along the ship's critical systems, harnessing the very alien technology they had once feared. The final moments were a blur of chaos. Explosions rocked the ground, the command ship shuddered, and the skies seemed to fracture. The Yothkari had lost. As the alien ships began to retreat in disarray, Kate stood among the rubble, her body bruised and blooded, but alive. The battle was won. Against all odds, humanity had done what the Yothkari had never expected. They had fought back harder, pushed farther, and conquered the invincible. Humanity had proven that its strength wasn't in its technology, but in its will to survive. Earth was theirs, and nothing, no invader, could take it from them. As Kate watched the last Yothkari ships disappear into the sky, she couldn't help but smile. The war had been long, and the cost had been high, but humanity had prevailed. Earth would rebuild, and the Yothkari, they had learned the hard way that underestimating humanity was the greatest mistake of all.